Hey there, welcome back to another exciting episode of YOMO Today. We are on 210. So this is the Year of Magical Learning podcast. And I don't think I have read this book. Something about 99 bottles of something.
I'm sure you've not read this book at all. There's probably zero. There's maybe 0.1% chance that you've ever read this book.
I think it's zero.
Yeah, zero chance. Yeah, but yeah, the book's called 99 Bottles: A Black Sheep's Guide to Life-Changing Wines by the author Andre Mack. So Andre is a sommelier who also, you know what a sommelier is?
Something about wine enthusiast. That's something.
They're like wine experts. You know how wine is so subjective. They do their best to understand as much as they can. They're like art curators almost. People that just know the world really well and are there to help guide somebody else through the confusing maze of wine, the world of wine, right? Because there's so many different varietals and so many different regions and appellations and terroirs and all this stuff right around the world. There's wine everywhere, and these people are experts in wine and do their best to understand a particular wine at a particular time, a particular region, a particular place, and then try to relay with that the smells and the tastes and whatever to people that are like, well, why would I spend $200 on a bottle? I don't understand. And they're like, well, this is why it's great. It's because XYZ, and
So they're a storyteller.
Oh yeah, for sure. That is their job.
I
Is to
mean,
tell
to
a
be in
great
a
story. Oh yeah,
creative
yeah.
profession, the bottom line is that you're telling a story. You try and
100%.
convince somebody of
They're
some
salespeople.
value.
No, they're literally salespeople. I mean, like 100%. Like a sommelier is just a really fancy.
It's a wine seller.
They're a wine expert that sells wine and helps connect consumers to wine producers, right? A lot of times you'll have a sommelier at really fine dining restaurants. There's extensive courses and training you have to go through to be certified as a sommelier. They go through years of training and practice. So Andre Mack is a sommelier, and this is his story of his life through bottles of wine. So like how he kind of each bottle that he went, that he talks about in this as like a story in his life, and what he learned from it and how it brought him toward what he does today. His beavering, on purpose, right? Is wine. So each one of these bottles, or sometimes they're not necessarily wines, or sometimes they're alcohol, just like cocktails or something like that. But each one of these drinks through his life, had a kind of purpose and led him to where it is today. So that's what this is. I love wine. I've talked to you about this before in the past. This is why it was interesting for me to read this. Also, he's African American as well, which doesn't necessarily have any bearing on this, but it did for him because the world of sommeliers and fine dining doesn't have a lot of African American influence on it. So he was kind of that's why it's called a black sheep's guide to life-changing wines, because he's, has a different perspective and paradigm as to this industry and how he came into it and what he's experienced along the way as well. So it's kind of just his life through wine. I really enjoyed it. It was fun. It was like 99 different stories, little stories that kind of weave together on one big theme throughout the whole thing. As I finished this book, the only thing I could think about was the reflection title is Don't Keep Your Life Locked Away in a Cabinet. Andre Mack mentioned in the book that he learned a really valuable lesson early on in his wine journey. That was that wines are meant to be consumed and enjoyed instead of collecting them. He wanted to experience the wine, and because that was more valuable for him, right? It didn't matter if it was the most expensive wine or the least expensive wine. He just wanted to experience the wine because that was the point for him. It was something to be consumed. It was something to be felt in the time, place, and moment, and shared with other people, and all this other stuff, right? There's a lot of people in the world of wine that are collectors, and they don't ever drink it. And he's like, I don't buy really expensive wine and then just hold on to it. He's like, when I buy an expensive bottle of wine, I want to try it. I want to learn it. I want to understand what it is so I can share it with other people and all that good stuff. So for me, this was a huge lesson, because this goes back to a story that I told in the book. I further went a little deeper into it. I don't know if you remember the story at all, but have always been a bit of a wine enthusiast my whole entire life since I've been able to drink as an adult. I'm a celiac, so I don't eat wheat, barley, or rye, which means in my adult life is when I discovered this when I was 22. I don't drink beer, and I stay away. I've never really been a cocktail fan or a hard liquor fan. So naturally, I ended up kind of dabbling around in a lot of wines and understanding why I liked a certain wine, why I didn't like a certain wine. In college, I took a wine appreciation course. It was like this 16-week-long course with an actual professor of wine. It was a really fun class. I learned a shitload. It's actually really hard. You had to learn all the different appellations and vintages and where they come from around the world, all the different varietals and how they're made and the winemaking process. It was actually a pretty complex class. It was not easy. Really, what's made my love of wine the most impactful in my life is my wife and I, we don't really have a whole lot in common on hobbies that we like to do. She likes to spin cycle and I like to go play tennis, and she likes to read fiction books and I like to read nonfiction books, and she likes to do, like there's like a lot of these little things. She's a bit of a foodie. I don't really give a shit what I eat. There's a lot of disconnects in some of the hobbies that we like to do, and like wine is one of the only things that her and I both really love to enjoy together. So whenever I think of wine a lot in my personal life, I think of experiences with her. I mean, we've gone all over the world to different vineyards, and whether it be in Italy or Spain, France, or Germany or Portugal or Canada and their wine country, or Napa and Sonoma. Everywhere that we've gone, we visit vineyards and farms and things like that out in these cultures and understand what it means to these people, and like understand what this particular wine means to this particular region and the history of it and all that other stuff, and experience it with like the local people. And it's experiences that I'll never forget. And I love spending that time with my wife, and I think very fondly of those times with her. And it's something that we've always connected on, have really enjoyed to do together. So every time that we would go to one of these places or go on one of our little wine trips, we would always bring back a bottle as like a souvenir, or something along those lines. When we would go tasting at a certain vineyard, we would fall in love with a particular wine at a particular place. Maybe it was because it was the fifth tasting of the day and you're just a little bit drunk and you remember certain things. There's certain bottles that I just remember certain experiences with her where we both connected over. I'm like, oh man, that was an amazing bottle. I can't wait to buy that and bring it back home, and maybe we can have it again sometime. For me personally, we started to develop a little bit of a wine collection. Like, it wasn't like huge or anything. We have just a wine cabinet, maybe 30 wines in there that had been built up over the years from different vineyards and memories that we had acquired together. And for me, it became a bit of a running joke in our family that I would never drink them. We would always say like, oh, we'll open that one on a special occasion. And literally, we never drank them. A birthday would come by and I'm like, that's not special enough. Like an anniversary, I'd be like, it's really not that special. We have them one every year, and it's like, or, I don't know, a graduation. My wife has 2 different master's degrees, like, and it's like, whatever, you'll probably get another one. It's fine. Like it was just, it just became like a running joke, where it was like, well, we're never going to, there's never an event that's going to be special enough to convince me to get rid of one of those bottles of wines and consume it. That was my stance. These things were memories for me. These weren't just bottles of wine. These were tangible memories. When I would look at that bottle of wine, I would think of, the time that we experienced at Linmar Estates in Sonoma County and touring the vineyard. And I see it in my head right now, hanging out with my wife and my friends as we were having a really fun day out there. These are my memories. And whenever I would look at those bottles, I would see that I can't drink my memories, is what my thought process was. And that was my stance. Like, it was just never going to get drunk. And then, as you know, our life changed pretty dramatically on April 22nd of 2020 when our daughter passed away. And there's one particular bottle of wine that was in our cabinet that I had them actually ranked in order, and like by the way that they sat in the cabinet, of like what were the ones that were the most important and what were the ones that were like, maybe I'll drink those ones at the end over there, but like the ones that were at the very tippy top of this whole entire cabinet assortment, I was like, they're never gonna get drunk. And there was one bottle that was always there, and it had never been bumped off the top list ever since we had acquired. And it was this bottle from, actually it's right back here. Hang on a second. This is the empty bottle. It's the Linmar Estate Pinot Noir from Russian River Valley in 2012. I kept it back there for a reason, obviously, but that wine was never going to be drank in my mind ever. Like, there was never a doubt in my mind that it was just going to be there 50 years from now, 70 years from now. Like, I don't know when we would have ever drank it, but there was just never, I was committed to just letting that one sit there for forever. Just because every time I look at that bottle, I would have great memories and I didn't want to drink it. And then, then my daughter passed away. And that particular day on April 22nd, we came back from the hospital at like 6:30 in the morning. She'd passed away around like 5:30 or 6 or something like that. Maybe it was like 7 o'clock when we got home. I don't remember exactly the time. We were exhausted. The whole story, obviously. I'm not going to rehash that, of what we went through on Amelia's last few days. And we just crashed in bed and woke up in a daze. Life just didn't make sense. I mean, we've talked about this so many different times throughout the course of this journey. And so I'm not going to go into great detail with all this stuff. However, once I did snap out of it using the strength from Amelia and her ability to endure, we did get out of bed that day eventually, and we did force ourselves to do a few things. And I forced my wife and I to eat, and we went outside and we took our first Amelia walk for the night at the time of her birth, which was 5:16 p.m. And we went out and enjoyed. It was a really nice, beautiful day. Actually, it was like a late April day, and in Indiana, that's usually like perfect spring day. And this particular day was just a beautiful 70-degree, bright, sunshiny day. And I came back into the house after our Amelia walk, and I walked over to our cabinet. For me, I was like, this is irrelevant anymore. Like, these bottles of wine mean nothing. It's time to be, give up holding on to the past, and kind of symbolically, like, just, there is no special occasion enough, and I don't care anymore. I'm tired of holding on to these memories and not consuming the stuff. Similar to this Andre Mack story of, if you buy it, the wine's meant to be consumed. So I went to the cabinet and I pulled that out. And my wife and I, we poured a couple glasses and we sat on our patio and we talked about our daughter and we talked about our life and we talked about, how amazing she is. And that was that. And since then, I've drank more and more of those wines. We still have probably 12 of them or so left, but I don't really care anymore about it. Honestly, life is meant to be lived and not sit on a shelf and stored. So that was the lesson, the reflection from this particular one, which was, what beautiful memories are you keeping locked away in the cabinet that deserve to be shared with the ones you love. So that was my Linmar. It's right here, and I'm gonna go put it back so I don't forget where I put it. Hang on one second. All right, I'll cede the floor. What do you got? What are you thinking about?
Well, I'm thinking about one of the question that jumps at me is the wine that you refuse to drink. What was your reason for that?
On that day?
No, when you're
Oh,
collecting all these
yeah.
wine,
It
what
was,
made you decide that I'm drinking all these and this particular one, I won't drink it at all. And then these few other ones, they have to be very, very, very special occasions. What was the reason for that? What made you decide that, hey, that's it's something that I need to keep and not drink it?
it's the memory. It
But
sparked
may I
joy.
ask you this question then? If you, okay, if it sparks joy, but what I'm saying is
That memory
one,
still exists, is the point, right? Like, I mean, like,
well, yeah, the next question, if you had drink it, would the memory be gone? If you drank
no,
it?
not at all. And that's the thing, is like, I was holding on to, like, I don't want to let go of these memories. Like, I need
That's my
me.
question though.
Yeah.
The memory will still be there.
Right.
Even if you have, like, the bottle's empty, but you still see the bottle. And even if you don't see the bottle, if the memory was so enjoyable, you will remember it,
Right.
right?
Yeah,
And
of
so
course.
that's my question for you. What caused you to think that's what you need to do to keep the
I don't
memory?
know. It's holding on to the past. It's like when you read a great book and you put it on your bookshelf. Are you going to use it again? Are you going to learn from it again? To be honest with you, every single time that I've ever had one of these bottles of wines that we did hold so dear and all the memories, it's never the same. Like, I mean, it's like, eh, that was good, but like, the experience is like you said earlier on, like, it's a storytelling. This is a story in my head, right? Like, that I
Hmm.
experienced with my wife. That's what I remember. That's why I love that bottle of wine, or I did love that bottle of wine. That's what I
You
loved about
still
it.
do. You still,
Yeah.
when to me, you have drank the bottle of wine that was labeled to never be drank,
Right.
right?
Right.
But you still remember the memory and
Of
you
course.
still enjoy the memory, right? And so I don't think it took anything away from that story or the feeling that you had, right? You don't forget it. And so for me is, I think this, to me, what I'm getting out of this is more than just memory. I think we do things without questioning because that's what we're conditioned to do. We follow the masses. People
Yeah.
say, hey, this wine is great because it came from France. Why, whatever the case, or it has the great weather, whatever makes the wine great. Who knows? That's some story somebody
It's a
made
story.
up.
Yeah. Right.
And
No, you're
then
right. Yeah.
and then what happens is that because you think about it, every single time you go to a wine event, right? Was it like, oh, I drank this wine in a dusty, musty, hot, humid, like smelly, stench conditions, or
Right.
in the most romantic with violin music going on?
Right.
So for me, is I don't drink wine. I don't drink beer either because I can't. But I did drink coffee in the past, and the thing is, like Starbucks, right? Starbucks, they call it third space, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the thing is, Starbucks coffee is like $4 or $5. Now I drink like three of them a day,
Oh my God.
right? I would drink three of them a day. The thing is, I would go pick up a venti
Yeah.
in the morning, and then around 11, I would pick up another one. It's a midday break, And then after lunch, around 2 o'clock, I pick up another one. So at Starbucks, I always go out for at least three and sometimes
Jesus
four.
Christ.
But my point is that the coffee that I taste at Starbucks, it tastes just delicious. I
Right.
same coffee I bought, like the bag I bought from Starbucks, bring home, it tastes like right. So the
That's
thing
true.
is,
Yeah.
coffee for me, it's just an excuse to socialize.
Right.
And
Get out
so
of that.
for you, it's the same thing. Your memory is tied to the environment that you're in.
Oh yeah.
But because the wine, the act of drinking, is a trigger point. It's like, hey, because like coffee, like when you say, hey, I'm going with coffee, right? The coffee comes with the ambience. It
Right.
comes with
Yeah. Yeah. It's a
with the
story. It's
friend,
a
with a
yeah.
friendly chat with a friend, right?
Right.
So
My wife in
the
this scenario, like,
your wife in the
yeah, yeah,
scenario, right? So
yeah.
to me, we are conditioned to follow the masses. We don't know why we held on to the one and now never drink it. It's only when you have this paradigm shift. Just like when we say, like when we keep saying everybody here, especially in America, and especially America and China and Japan, even worse, right? They want to always eat the frog. They want to always rise, grind, and repeat. That's what we're told to do.
Delayed gratification, Yeah,
The
yeah,
grit
yeah.
and all that. And
Yeah.
we found out through self exploration, we understand that, hey, that's not the right way to do, because you want to eat the cake instead of the frog. So for me, the reason I think that you held on to those memories has no logic to it. It's just
No.
because you would pass on it. We were told, or you saw somebody and you just copied. Hey, people collect wine. That means, hey, this is so special, and they
Right.
retain the memories and the storytelling. And so I think that's the key: is we are conditioned to follow a certain precepts, whatever the precepts is, what ideas they have. Right? So we follow that, but at the same time, because we follow that without any kind of verification. We don't go and research. Okay, did they tell the story? Was it true? And this and blah blah blah. You just take it at face value. And so that's, to me, is this lesson I learned here. Is like for myself. It's like we are conditioned to take in the fact without questioning, but then that doesn't mean necessarily going to be the right fit for us. And most likely it won't be, because we are all individual and we have different genetic makeup, and our enjoyment is going to base on several different dynamic of factors, and those factors varies greatly. I think this is the key. Having a paradigm shift for you makes you realize that whatever you did, right, whatever you set out as criteria to say, hey, this bottle of wine is so precious in a way that it retains a memory, you start to question it. You start to explore that fact, and then you found out it wasn't, so you start drinking it. I think
Yeah.
that's something that people need to begin doing. If you start to begin exploring, like whatever it is you want to explore, whether, hey, this one really retains a memory. Explore. When you explore it, you can find more about whether or not it's the right path, or is it not. I mean, it's just something that you just follow the message just for the fact that it was there already.
Right. Well, agreed. And I think taking it further, my values were tied up in an object. They weren't tied up but what I actually valued about that wine was the experience, the connection with my wife, with other people, with like, so for me, the lesson was even further as we tie it back to like our mission around values and purpose and things like that. Like I had put a whole lot of value into the tangible bottle of wine that stored happiness for me, right? Like, but the happiness is never going away. Like, and not only that,
Right,
like
right.
it makes me think, like, when you have something that you really love and you value, it's meant to be consumed. It's not meant to be put on a shelf and like stared at, and delayed gratification for. Because what's the point? Like, if you're not doing stuff that you love every day and you're not consuming stuff that you love every single day, and you're just either putting it away, tucking it away and saving it for a rainy day, you're like, someday that may never come. Like, you can't just tuck away the stuff that you love to do up on a shelf and go, oh, I remember the time when I played tennis when I was 10, and I really loved it. Like, well, I guess that dusty racket will just sit up there. No, it's get out there and fucking use it. It's live your life. If you value something, don't lock it away and put it somewhere. It's got to be consumed for it to have
And
value.
I think, I mean, the paradigm is that when you have something of value, you think that when you use it,
It's
it
gone.
disappears.
Right, right.
But the thing is, in the wicked environment of life, which would mean dynamics, right? And
Right.
kind mean has a specific rule. In the wicked environment, right, everything's in flux. And the value, right? The only value, you can only have the value if it's being used. Your
Right.
talent cannot be used unless it's given out.
I call
Right?
it, let's call it consumed.
You
Consume your
consume
values.
value,
Yeah.
but the
Yeah.
thing is, when you consume value, it grows. So
Right.
so there are certain things that the only way for the value to be realized is to express that talent, right? So that talent cannot be understood, even be seen anyone unless it's being used. That talent is being
Right.
used, right? You think about it. If you don't use a talent, who knows? Who
Right.
knows? But that's the thing is, in the kind environment, when you consume something, right? When you consume something, it has less of it. But in the wicked environment, it could be both. It could be, sometimes when you consume it, it makes.
Yeah.
So in the wicked environment, there is not a fixed rule. There's no fixed rules to
The
anything.
pie can
So
grow,
I mean, you can say, well, 1 plus 1 is 2. No, 1 plus 1 doesn't have to be 2. It could be 10. When two-person put together their complementary skills, that multiply more than just twice. It
Sure.
multiply exponentially.
4 kids.
Right?
I
Exactly.
mean, it's just you and your wife when you started,
Yep, exactly. And so that's an example
Right.
of a dynamic, quote unquote, wicked environment. And
Right.
so the same thing is, we have to understand, because the thing is, based on your reflection, what I get out of it is that people tell you how to determine a value or a certain thing,
Or what to do
right?
with it. Yeah.
Right, because they say, well, in order to value it, this is what we have done in the past, and this is
Store.
what you should do too.
Yeah.
But in what we have learned thus far, because we are in a wicked environment, that is not necessarily true, and probably won't be true for you, because you have going to value something different from other people, because you are different.
Right.
And so I think it's, instead of taking the existing precepts and mantra and dogma, or whatever that you want to call it, these conditionings of society. Hey, one is like this or one is like that, right? If you are a wine lover, then drink wine. If you're not a wine lover, don't drink wine. Even if they say wine drinkers are
Right.
sophisticated and smart, and then great lovers, right? You want those attributes, but that doesn't mean you should drink wine, because they define that value, and you take that value at face value. Because I can say, well, hey Chris, I don't know, my hair. If I cut up my hair, I say, hey, this worth $1 million. You should pay me $1 million.
Right.
Well, in that sense, if I didn't make it that obvious, would you buy a few strands of hair cut for $1 million?
If somebody
Obviously,
told me it
you
was
would,
worth
because
more, if
right.
I for it's like a figurine collector, or like Beanie Baby collectors, or like action figure collectors, where they keep it pristine in the box and they stare at it all day long, and they wait for 30 years. This goes back to you remember the procrastinated on purpose conversation about the cup of coffee costing $55 and like net present value basically, and for the $5 you pay now. And it's like, who gives a shit? Like coffee, drink the coffee, like, I mean, yeah, you don't want to you don't want to go overboard, but if you enjoy something and it gives you value, consume it. It's
the value is determined by you, right?
right.
Your enjoyment level determines on how best you fit it to that particular conditions and
Right.
criteria. It is not defined by the masses. The masses just say, hey, there's some guideline, there's some range, right? That, hey, you should be able to do this. But some people buy a hamburger for $10,000, right? Because they could and they want to, and because they think they determine the value of an object,
Right.
not everybody else, because everybody else is like, you have to put your core values at a door to come in and assume the core values of the whole mass, which is like you're talking about the bees versus the monkeys, right? And that kind of diminishes your level of enjoyment of anything, because you basing your value not on your own but on somebody else's word. And that's a wake-up call I got from this reflection is, a lot of things you have to be able to understand the value and how can extract the enjoyment out of it, versus telling people, hey, you can eat the frog so that you can, later
So
on
you can
get
eat,
the
so
reward.
maybe, yeah,
Instead of drinking
right.
the $5
It's
coffee today, right? You get $55 in 30 years.
right. It's delayed gratification. It's the marshmallow test. I told you my answer to the marshmallow test. It depends on the day. I know what I value on particular days. And on a Saturday, when I don't care, it's a day that I'm not going to push myself for a workout. I'm trying to relax. I don't want to be stringent or anything like that. I'll eat the marshmallow. You give me 5, I'll eat 5. You give me 10, I'll probably eat 10. Like, I'll eat it until I don't want to eat it anymore.
The thing, that's the thing is,
Like,
you
because I don't value
everybody,
it.
most of people knows about a marshmallow test, and most people would judge the people who can be great gratification are deemed like smarter and more successful, right? To me,
Only
that's
as
just a
following
bunch
the
of
rules of
BS.
society, right?
That's a
Yeah,
bunch of BS, right? The
no, it's not.
determined
It's not
success.
BS. They're really successful at following the rules of society and telling that.
Well, because you're right.
Right.
I mean, basically, is you're scared of cat to do anything. I mean, I could say that's success.
Right. It's
You too
it's
scared out of your pants to do anything. You can't even speak up for yourself, right? You can follow in society. People tell you to do whatever. People tell you put your head on up your ass. You do it, right?
right.
You're successful because you are like perfection. You follow the orders to perfection, and you are the most successful by that standard. And that's
Right.
what I'm trying to say is there are certain conditionings that people, society, pass down to us, and we take it at face value because we have no point of reference. But you cannot continue to do that, because most people want to follow the majority rules, kind of. So hey, if everybody does this, that means it's normal. If everybody stick their heads up their ass, right? If majority of people do that, that's normal, and that's
Right.
the way you're supposed to do.
Right. And that's what we're going to reward. Yeah.
You think about it. If I make that ridiculous of an example, wouldn't you want to stop and think about, okay, maybe this isn't for me, right? This isn't for me. You have to understand that question, that sometimes whatever people put in front of you, it may not be the right fit for you. So you have to explore on your own and figure it out whether or not the
It's
enjoyment comes through the things that you do or do not do, not based on somebody say you have to do.
agreed. It's the deliberate action that matters, right? Like, it's deliberate. Doing when you delay gratification in like the marshmallow test, you're doing it for other people, because you're saying I'm supposed to follow the rules, and I'll be rewarded at some point in time.
Because that was the common understanding in that realm. Like, because you get influenced by the people that you get inspired. Like, you go and say, hey, that person is like a sommelier, right? So, and they have collections, and they have this wine cellar with a bunch of variety. Well, you think, well, if they have a variety, I mean, they must be collecting. If they have it, I mean, they must not be drinking. Therefore,
Right.
you make that assumption. You assume that's what the wine enthusiast, and if you love wine, you're supposed to do that. Versus,
Right.
like people say, you gotta go and swish the wine around the glass, and you have to taste it and get spit it out or whatever, right?
Right.
To me, it's like, I don't know, man. Who made the trend, right?
Well,
Somebody made the trend. So
you only spit it out
somebody's
because
famous.
if you don't spit it out, if you're tasting wine all day long, you'll just get really shit faced. I mean, you can only consume so much wine.
But the thing is, you are saying that to me. Did you ever think about it? Because for me, is I don't think about it. I say, if I like the wine and I drink maybe a half and half of each, and I'm done. I don't have to go
Oh,
again. I don't have to taste like 100 of them in a day.
well,
To
that's
me,
the dirty secret of the wine industry is, If you like a $2 bottle of wine, then it's good wine. Like who gives a shit how much the wine costs or where it comes from? Your point is right, was spot on at the beginning of this. They're just salesmen, like, or sales professionals, and painting a picture to help build more value of that particular wine. But at the end of the day, you can like a wine. I mean, there's plenty of wines that I drink every single,
It's called
Friday
pump
or
and
Saturday.
sell.
I didn't finish my thought on the marshmallow test, right? So neither one, whether you have no impulse control and you just eat a marshmallow, somebody gives it to you, and you don't know why you did it. You're just like, oh, I'm just gonna eat it because my body's telling me to eat it. And your elephant saying there's sugar there, eat the sugar, or whatever it is, right? If that's why you're doing it, then that's not good. But if you're also delaying gratification because you want society to feel like you're doing the right thing or something along those lines, because you're not doing that for yourself either. Neither one of those things is what I was getting at. Is you're not doing it for yourself. Like you're either your elephant is and your impulses are doing it, or
Hmm.
you're doing it for somebody else, right? Now, I don't give a shit what you do as long as it's on purpose. If you want to eat 500 marshmallows that day and you're like, yeah, you guys are giving me free marshmallows today, I'm gonna eat it and it's on my cheat day. Hey, idiot, keep giving me more, keep giving me more. You're like, these dudes are dumbasses, or something like that. I got free marshmallows all day long and this is great. Or like if you are like, no, I need to not eat this because I'm gonna go running today is more important to me and I don't want to feel full while I'm running or something like that. So like I'm gonna choose. My point of what I was getting at is like neither end of the spectrum is good. Either the ones that just, when you're a kid, obviously you don't know any of this stuff. So that's why they do this study on kids, because they're like, do they listen to their mom and dad or do they not? Or do they just do what they want to do? They can be taught through the course of your life of going, okay, child, as you get older and you get agency over your life and you start to understand what you do naturally like and don't like, okay, now give them a marshmallow test when they have agency over their thoughts and can understand naturally what they gravitate toward or don't. And then let them decide, using that as their framework as to whether or not I want to eat the marshmallows. That's the people that I want to be around. That's the people that we want to be in heaven company, is somebody that does deliberate action. And they don't give a shit, because we're always living a life of tests and trials that are being put in front of us. You can either, and that are going to be designed to funnel us to our worst instincts or to what society tells us is our best instincts. We say choose your own instincts and figure out what aligns to your life and doesn't align to your life on that time, place, given day, et cetera, et cetera. So it's about consuming your values when you want to go consume them for reasons that only you know, right? Like that's really what this is all about. And that all gets summed up in a stupid marshmallow or a bottle of wine or whatever, like, and making that decision of saying like, look, you can't take it with you. Like none of the stuff you can take it with you. Like, so if you care about something, then consume it. Because like my daughter's not here anymore. You could not be here tomorrow. Like that bottle of wine could be sitting there for another 500 years, or I could die tomorrow and then somebody walks in and there's an estate sale and they're like, oh, this bottle of wine looks good. Let's go have it for dinner tonight. And you're like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? If you care about something, consume it for the reasons why you want to consume it. I mean, it's an interesting, I wasn't expecting to go down this road, but that's why we love doing this stuff, because it helps me to unlock even more stuff and it helps you to unlock more stuff as we converse about it, right? But yeah, you're right.
I mean, that's a great point, right? Because you have to understand, we keep saying the space between stimulus and response is a freedom to choose, right?
Right.
So to kind of summarize what you just said, it's not about whether you do A or B. It's about whether or not you are in the driver's seat.
Right. Why you did it.
Is your body is driving you to do the things and overriding you and your cognitive abilities, or society is deciding for you and overriding your cognitive ability? Are you in the driver's seat? Are
Right.
you the one that's making the decision to say yes to the marshmallow or no to the marshmallow? That's what we're advocating. We're not advocating one way and say, hey, my body say I want sugar, eat sugar. Like, does it go through your, are you the one that chose it?
Right.
The space between stimulus and response is freedom to choose. And if you can utilize that, that's the point of what you just say, right? That's a key. Are you driving it, or something else driving it other
Right.
than you? If something else driving than you, it doesn't matter one way or the other way. It's still not you. That means it's wrong, right?
Right.
The only one that's right for you is you are the one who choose. And when you let that cognitive ability to choose, right, then sometimes you're gonna take it, and sometimes you don't. It just
Right.
depends on the value you have that day. And to me, that's a super important concept to understand. And it's good that you brought that up, because I think that kind of clarify a lot of the concept that we're trying to say. Is it's not about to do one extreme or the opposite. right? Because people say, hey, if you say this isn't good, I'm gonna do the opposite. That means if you say one on one end is wrong, then the other end is right. And the thing is, in reality, it's not that simple. It could
Yeah,
be in
like
the middle. It could be like just slightly to the right, slightly to the left. It could be in anywhere in between. So the
I
only
mean,
way for you to say, if it's right for you, is you have to decide that if you are in the driver's seat or you're not, and that's the point of this.
right. Like you could drink wine all day long and you're called a drunk, or you could let your wine sit in a cabinet for forever and you're an idiot. Drink it when you should drink it because you want to drink it because it's something you care about, like it's not that hard, but it is that hard, right? Because it's like I wasn't choosing to do that. For whatever weird reason, I've been told to delay gratification in my life. And because society
That's
probably
what society tells us to
right.
do it.
So I was delaying gratification on these things, and I've trained myself to delay gratification. I guess I'm good at it. It's probably why I've been good at my career and been able to, have success in a corporate world because I've learned how to navigate. I learned what people care about, and I learned how to do it. Right. I think now it's different because I can be intent. I'm after this whole journey and in our Club and Elite programs and things like that. I'm intentionally choosing when and where I want to do that and how I want to do that. And it's not that I don't play about some days I play by the corporate rules, some days I don't.
But the point is that you are the
I
one
chose.
deciding
Yes,
it.
exactly.
You are the driver, right? That's the key. Is are you driving or somebody else is driving? Whether the kid is driving or an adult driving or a machine's driving, it's still not you. It's you versus not you. That's the concept, the idea that we want to drive home. As long as you can decide that, that's the difference.
Right. Exactly. Like if you drink all day long, you are just an alcoholic and you're not deciding. Nobody would decide to want to be an alcoholic, right? Like, or if you just eat pop marshmallows all day long, you're going to be obese and have some serious health concerns, like you can't do that. You're not in control of those actions, and like that's an
Right.
addiction. Like, well, actually, all even values are addictions, but it's a controlled addiction. It's controlled. It's controlled.
If you say, well, turning left is wrong, then I always going to turn right. What happens when you always turn right?
I mean,
you go in a circle.
yeah, you don't go anywhere. Yeah, you're well, I guess
Right?
unless you're a race car driver, then you could be making millions of dollars driving right, all day long, Or if you only turn left, you can be Zoolander and you could be a male model, walking the runway because he can only turn left.
Saying
Yeah.
is, when he can only run left, that dictates, who he is, not he dictates what he's supposed to. And that's what I'm saying is, when you in the driver's seat, you can turn left when you want to turn left. You can
Right.
turn right when you want to turn right. That's the key. That's the point. And so I don't want the viewers to misunderstand and say, okay, if they say if I get offered a marshmallow, I should eat it, right? Because I don't want delayed gratification is being
It depends.
brainwashed, right?
Right.
I'm not telling you to do that. I'm saying,
Right.
hey, you need to decide: is taking the marshmallow today, is that what you want,
Right.
or is that your body wants you to do it, or delayed gratification, is that what you want, or is that society told you to do it? So
Right.
that's the key: is did you decide or somebody else decide?
Yep.
Right? And if you can get to that point, you have more control over your enjoyment, because your enjoyment decides the desire. Your desire and your happiness is a contract with yourself. If you say, if I get this, right, and you get it, right, you get happiness. If you, let's say I contract with myself and say, I won't get this and I get this, I'm happy. But if I'm contract with myself and I get this, right, I contract with myself this and I get this, it's exactly that. I'm unhappy, even though my achievement was the same as if I had contracted with myself to achieve at this level. So
Yeah.
your happiness depends on that contractual agreement with yourself. And so, in order to enjoy your life, in order to enjoy the bottle of wine or whatever that is you want to enjoy, is a contract that you made. And as long as you fulfill the contract, it is gonna give you the most positive emotional feedback.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you have to be able to be in the driver's seat and make that decisions. If you let someone else make the decisions, it doesn't fulfills, right? Because it doesn't fulfills that obligation. Because when you fulfills it, right, it fulfills someone else's contract, and your only enjoyment is to fulfill the other person's expectation of you,
Right.
right? Which is,
Yeah.
it's okay, but it's not that great. to
Well,
think
actually,
about it.
it's even actually worse because this is my final thought because you made me think about this. I don't know if you heard me earlier when I said every time that I've ever consumed one of these bottles of wines, for a special occasion or whatever it may be, they're never what I remember them to be, and it's always a big letdown because the longer that you delay gratification, the more it builds up in your mind of what it's going to be like when you do consume it or when you do get to that final, it's like probably an Olympic gold medal. They've delayed their entire life and focused on one thing and pushed everything to the side to get to that one moment. And they're like, this is it? This is why I did all this?
Right,
Yeah,
because
that's
but yeah,
it.
but to me, like you
You know,
have to take because to be an Olympic, right?
it's an extreme delayed
It,
gratification.
it's
Yeah.
hard. No, I mean I know you're right, okay, but my concern is that most people don't understand that
I'm not trying
because
to,
like to be an Olympic, right? Not a lot of people can be in an Olympian,
yeah,
but
but
for
not
me, is
a lot of
it,
people, not a lot of people can drink, 2 gallons of wine every day either. You know what I mean? It's both extremes. What I was getting at is the delayed gratification is just another extremity on the balance scale. The longer that people can, society has said delaying gratification is good.
in reality, it is not. It's a
It's just
big
as extreme.
letdown.
Right.
It's actually a big letdown, and I agree with what you say. But I want
Right.
to make sure that people understand and can maybe use their own experience to
Not easy.
determine that. Well, it is pretty easy because
No, it's
I've
not. I mean, it's not easy to delay gratification
it's easy
either.
to understand once you put it in the right context.
Right.
Because when I was younger, right? My family is poor, someone poor, so people have computers, have games, and all that, right? And I when I was younger, I really really want to play games. I would want to like, and my mom said like you have to do well in school. You have to do so. You wait for like when you like in like in kindergarten like third grade, fourth grade, people play games and you don't have
Mhm.
games and cause your mom, your parents are so poor that you don't even can afford a TV and whatnot, right? And I really want to play games because I'm addicted to it for whatever reason. I guess I'm a kid,
Right.
so I'm addicted to the game and I wanted to play games so bad, right? Like I would sneak out, I would try to do whatever I need to get my hands on games or go with my neighbors to play games or whatever. And I try my best, but I still couldn't have time to play them. But that's all I want to play. Right? Just have to play games. So basically, my parent told me that whenever you finish school, you have a good job, you can play games all day long, and that's in my mind. That's all I want to do. And so when I
Right.
did finish school, I stopped playing games. Like, oh really?
Yeah. This is fun.
I play for like maybe a day, and then I don't play it anymore. Right?
Right.
So that's the thing. You have this pent up desire to play game for like
You
12
built it up.
years. Right?
Yeah, you
You
built it up
built
in
it.
your head. Yeah.
It's like when you get to the point within you, you were gonna have the best time of your life. And
Right.
then the moment you start the game and you wait and you set them up, and like, it's a big letdown. And I'm sure that most people have similar stories like that to say, well,
Oh,
how do you delay gratification for something to do later?
yeah.
And when you get to do it, how did you feel? I mean, you don't have to imagine to be an Olympian and winning the gold medal
No.
because not a lot of people can relate to that, but a lot of people can relate to what I say because like a pair of shoes or whatever it is, right?
10 years to
They,
drink a bottle of wine. I mean, like that's kind of crazy, right?
Yeah, you thought that all these accumulations of desires of the years will give you like the explosions of jubilee.
Right.
It's it's not. It's the worst. I mean, to me, is I remember the flat the flat balloon feeling. You get deflated feeling.
Deflated. Yeah, yeah.
It's like defeating.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, you had this idea of this great joy that you would have, but the reality is actually the opposite. For whatever reason, that's always been the case.
I mean, think about being promoted to lead a sales team or something like, or to lead a team, going from an individual contributor to a team to a leader. Like
Mm.
so many people put so much stock into that. They fight and they scrap and they sacrifice. They don't leave a certain job. They stay longer and longer, and then they get to be a leader and they're like, fuck, this is what you have to do every single day. This sucks. Like I miss doing what I liked to do all day long. You have to really like people to lead a team, to be a leader. You need to love people. Like, I mean, that 100% is the requirement of that is probably the only requirement. to be a good leader is to love people, to try to help people. Like, you don't have to do that when you're coding all day long. Indirectly, maybe you can do that, but
The
like,
thing
you
is, I
don't have
don't
to
want to be a leader. I don't
train
want
people.
to.
But
The
I'm
thing
saying people
is,
are, and they delay gratification,
in the
Yeah.
past, I thought I want to be a leader,
Right.
right? Because that's what I was told that, hey, you're supposed to be a leader because, it's desirable, right?
Right.
But when I learn about myself, it's, fuck, I don't want to be a leader.
Yeah, it sucks.
Take your problems elsewhere.
But I love people's problems. Like, that's the thing is I'm like, oh, bring them on.
I don't.
Yeah, like for me, it's the best thing ever. I love it.
So
Like,
it sounds like people say, hey, would you rather be a lion or a beaver, right? No one picks a beaver. No one. It's like,
I mean,
oh, a lion is king of the jungle. A beaver is like, I'll pick a beaver.
right. I'm
All
an
the
engineer, man.
drama, right?
Yeah.
I just want to do my thing.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
wheel my poor. I don't want. I mean, that's the thing is because, and the thing, if you think about it, it goes against the fabric of the society because society tells you you have to become a leader, you have to become like a great person, friendly and agreeable, and work hard, and whatever. Like take the shit, be a
Right.
man, and eat the frogs. Let people beat on you, and whatever. Like do all these things so that they can control you. And to me, it's like fuck that.
There was this lady that I used to work with early on in my career. She was a senior leader at the company I worked at, and she said this comment that at the time I was like, oh, that's pretty profound. I thought I was like, wow, you get it, And now as we've gone through this whole entire process, like in this journey together, I now am going to say the same comment in my head, and I'm like, that's fucked. She would say, I just remember hearing her say this one time, the higher up in a company you go, the less and less of a personality that you can have. And it made total sense to me because I got what she was saying, where I'm like, yeah, you got to really worry about everything. You got to worry about, saying the right stuff, being the right person, doing the right things, conforming to what everybody wants you to be, and you just can't be yourself anymore. And now after this whole journey, I'm like, that's fucked up. Like, that's beyond fucked up that people have to live their life trying to not be themselves. If that's what it has to be a leader, like that, I don't want anything to do with that. You know what I mean? Like that's not true, by the way. I mean, it was true in her life, so I can't say it's not true.
The thing is, nothing is either black or white, right? Because we are not in a kind of environment. We are in a dynamic, wicked environment, meaning that rules don't apply just because you have or you made them, right? It doesn't apply. I mean, so you're gonna have to understand that each individual action you do is based on you and you alone. Has nothing to do with anyone else. Because the
Right.
thing is, like I said, I don't want to be a leader because my enjoyment isn't to lead anyone or to be responsible for anyone. I don't want the responsibility. Like I said,
Well, I'm not
why would I
responsible for
want?
anyone. That's not my
Right?
leadership style. I'm like, you're responsible for yourself. Like, I'm just here to help you when you need me to help.
Right. Now you're out there, you have a bunch of different leadership styles, and one of the most popular one today is a servant leader. It's like, what the
Right.
fuck is a servant leader? If you're a servant, you're a servant. You leader, you leader. To me, that's what I see, but people disagree, right? They say, hey,
I
you
don't
as a
disagree.
leader, you're supposed to serve your people. Like,
It's not serve. You're supposed to collaborate with them. You're supposed to be there for them.
but
You
that's
work
no, the
for them.
popular. I'm talking about the different flavors of leadership today.
No, I
One of
understand.
them is servant leadership.
Yeah. No,
This the popular one, and in that is that you serve the people you lead. It sounds like a bunch of hogwash in a way, because to me that's just like storytelling. Hey, you say whatever as long as people buy it, and yeah, you get to sell books and just to go say whatever. But to me, it's conflicting. You can't lead and serve, right? And so
Well,
the thing is, for me, if you go through the military, right? When you don't serve your team members, right? As a leader, you serve the mission. Your team members serve you. You
that's
serve the
fair.
mission, right? And so there's always this layers. It's not that the circle. You don't flip it upside down just because you can. Flip it only it makes sense to you. And I don't know, it may make sense to other people, but for me, is that's what I'm saying is, in a lot of companies, you have managers on top of managers on top of managers, and then you have 1% of the people that's actually doing their work. Right? And these are servant leader because they like, hey, what do you need? What can I help you with? Go do your fucking job. Let me do mine. Right?
Well, that's funny. It's funny. It's actually there. All right, we're gonna we need because we could go down this rabbit hole for another 2 hours. I bet this. I'll tell you about this in a second. But yeah, let's put a pin on this one because that was a fun combo. But I got to go to bed here soon. But when we wrap, we'll tell you a quick story. All right. So the good conversation, as always, the question we can leave with everybody is: what beautiful memories are you keeping locked in a cabinet that deserve to be shared with those you love? So like get out there and consume your values if it makes sense. If it doesn't, then don't.
No,
Yeah.
that's the only way to do it.
Right.
All right, folks. Well, that's it for today, and we'll see you Monday. Good night.